Hello out there in La La Land. We continue our course of honorable mention. We're talking about loving your neighbor the way you love yourself and all the things which will be encompassed within this tremendous commandment. As the commentators learn, a paramount mitzvah, a preeminent mitzvah. It's the most important mitzvah, and certainly the most famous verse in the entire Torah is love your neighbor the way you love yourself. This class is Lili Nishmas Rachel Leah Bas Chaim Tzvi. We spoke about how if we view ourselves being created in God's image, then it's incumbent upon us to respect all people, excuse me, and justice and tolerance, and the virtues that demand from us fairness and respect are all based on the love we should feel for those like ourselves that are created in God's image. Now, this is a bit of a far cry. It's a bit far-fetched. Ever notice certain words in English sound like they're Yiddish? Like far-fetched, far-flung, far rockaway. And while we're in the neighborhood, we could also ask a Vudmir, sounds pretty Yiddishy to me. It may sound a bit far-fetched, but it's not all that. I mean, we have to love our fellow person the way we love ourselves. And we need to explain what a fellow person is. Fellow person, according to Torah law, means our fellow Jew. And the mitzvah of viewing everyone as created in God's image means all living creatures, all human beings. But it also means God cares about all of His creations. That also will extend to animals. The remarkable thing is that the Torah is not quiet about how we have to have respect and the way we govern, the way we treat animals. It has to be done with respect, and also has to be done with humanity. It has to be done in a way that it's not cruel to animals. There are more laws and rules in the Torah governing how to treat animals than there are regarding Shabbos. So it's not an insignificant matter. Okay, now let's look at the actual words of the Torah. It says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. And the explicit commandment is to love our neighbor. The implicit commandment is to love ourselves. Because Jewish law upholds the right of self-defense, right? That's the most basic law. And therefore, you have to also not only self-defense to guard your life, not only that, if there is a conflict between your health, if one of your organs is in danger, and even be the sanctity of Yom Kippur, or Shabbos is at stake, your life will have precedence. But we also have to extend ourselves if someone else's life is at risk. And this is I'm going to now segue to the well-known story, I don't know if this is a medrash or just folklore, about how God Himself, why He decided to elect the place for the Beis HaMikdash. Why did He think this would be the appropriate location? The story goes like this. There were two sons, one had a large family, one was still single, and their father passed away, and their father's message always was, I just ask you one thing. Just, when I'm gone, don't argue. That's all I ask, don't argue. And so the boys wanted to uphold their father's request, and the single boy said to himself, listen here, I really have a farm, I'm doing well, and they had this hill which separated between their two plots of land. And he said, I'm really doing well, my poor brother, he's got a large family, it's hard for him to make ends meet, I'm going to give him some of my bushels of wheat. Meanwhile, at the very same time, his brother was reasoning, brother who had a family, listen, I don't have a lot of means, but I'm blessed with a family, a wonderful wife, and my poor brother, he doesn't have a family. At least all he has is his possessions. Let me make him feel good, I'll give him a bushel of wheat. So that night, one brother puts a bushel on his back, another puts a bushel on his back, and one travels over to bring the bushel to his brother, and one takes the bushel to bring his brother. And they got up the next morning, they said, what in the world? I must have been dreaming. I was sure I brought a bushel of wheat to my brother, and now there's a bushel here. The same number I had before is what I have now. And meanwhile, the other brother is scratching his head. 1 second here. I know that I was intending to give it to my brother. Was I dreaming? All right, I'll be very careful tonight. That night, when he was sure his brother was sleeping, the brother with the family took a bushel of wheat and brought it all the way over the hillside and brought it to his brother. And the brother waited for his brother to be certainly sleeping, and he said, my poor brother, he's got a family, he can't make ends meet. And he brought a bushel over to his other brother. They wake up in the morning, the same number of bushels are there, and they can't figure it out. And he said, I don't know what's going on here. And then one night, they're both surreptitiously, clandestinely, conspiratorially taking that bushel of wheat to give it to the brother, and they meet on top of the hill, and each one realized what's happening. One was bringing to one brother, one was bringing to the other brother. Each one had compassion. The other one, God said, I want this to be the location where I'm going to build my bias, where I'm going to build my temple. God, when they kissed, they said, that's where I want my temple built. Okay, so this is the very idea of what it means to love a brother. You want to go out and see to it that I can't bear the thought that my brother, my neighbor, my fellow Jew is deprived of something which I have. And that's the lesson we learn from that. So we know by Avraham Avinu, that we're talking about over 3,000 years ago, God reveals himself and he says to him, and you shall be a blessing. You'll be a blessing to all those that come in contact with you. And I think it's pretty fair to say, if that we will inculcate this idea of loving our fellow person the way we love ourselves, then the way we act, the way we conduct ourselves, the way we speak, will be a blessing for us and for all of our people. So let's dig deeper into this. The central commandment of